Okay, my friends, so let's click over here on data sorted by loader. There are actually 3 different tabs in this spreadsheet. We'll get to each of them as we go. So whenever I say spreadsheet tabs, just know that we're talking about those little areas down there. Now in this sheet, it's the same as it was before, same data. The only difference is instead of this sheet where the boxes were kind of in, I guess, letter and numerical order, here they're in alphabetical order by the folks who loaded them. So we're going to head down to find Frank. He's down here. FS. There's the beginning of Frank right there. And it looks like he loaded boxes all the way down to here. Okay, now let's go back to the top of his. Now, the first box in Frank's list right here had 81 eggs loaded in it. Of the 81, 38 hatched, which means he's got a 46.9% hatch rate, which doesn't seem that great. It's colored orange in the spreadsheet, which means it wasn't one of the best. Then you can see his next 2 boxes were even worse. They're colored pink. Frank uses these shades to indicate how good or bad the hatch rates are. But we're going to look at Frank's overall hatch rate. So what we need to do is we need to figure out how many total eggs did Frank put in boxes. So I'm going to start, dear friends, by clicking on just that 95 right there, which is cell C48. It's Frank's first box listed in the spreadsheet. Now I'm going to hold the mouse button down, and then I'm going to begin adding up all of the eggs Frank loaded. And I'm going to keep going until I have selected all the ones Frank loaded, which it looks like the last box Frank loaded is down there in cell C78. So now I unclick so I can scroll again. I've highlighted all of the cells that contain the eggs that Frank loaded. How many eggs did Frank load? Well, here's a really cool feature of Sheets. If you look over here to the right, there's a little box down here that, if you select multiple cells, gives you information about those cells. For example, mine is set to show that the sum of all the cells I selected was 3,058. So I'm going to write that down right now, 3,058 eggs. Notice there's a little arrow next to it. If you click on that, it opens up the other possibilities for what you could have Sheets look at in that selection of cells. For example, the average, I hardly ever use this one, but the average of all those cells is about 99. The smallest value in that highlighted area is 63. The largest is 132. There are 31 total numbers selected. And I'm not sure what count numbers is. I bet you that's if you have something like text instead of numbers in there. But the one we need is the sum. So that tells us that Frank packed 3,058 eggs. Now, how many babies did Frank create? That seems kind of weird. Frank didn't create anything. Of the boxes Frank packed, how many total babies hatched? That sounds less religious and more correct scientifically. Okay, so I'm going to start by clicking right here. His box here was fantastic. He packed 95 eggs and all 95 hatched. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and hold and select up until I've selected all of Frank's. Whoops, I went too far. Until I've selected all of Frank's boxes. There we go. So it looks like it stops at 68. Now, once again, I'm just going to double check to make sure I got them right. Yep, I got the 95 down here at the bottom, and I got the 60 up here at the top. How many total eggs are there? Looks like 2,570. Oh, I said the wrong thing. Those aren't eggs. Those are babies. So of 3,058 eggs packed, he was able to hatch 2,570 baby turtles. Well, let's figure out how he did percentage-wise. So I'm going to take the number of babies that hatched and divide them by the number of eggs that Frank packed. And it looks like Frank had an 84% hatch rate. Not bad at all, Frank. Now, I'm going to have you try some other folks.